What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Malik Washington, back at it again with another episode of the BMB. How you all doing this fine day or evening, wherever you all reside? I'd like to dive right on into the topic and try to keep this as short as possible as I can, because for some reason, when I do upload my YouTube videos, they tend to upload pretty slowly for whatever the reason. And I don't know if that's because of the duration of the videos, but I'm going to test a few things out and see how it pans out. I'm going to do it like I normally do it, just keep talking, but for however long I wish to talk, but I'm going to try to keep them relatively short, probably between 10 to 15 minutes, just to see, why my videos aren't uploading the way that they should be uploading. I'd like them to upload much faster. But outside of that, I haven't really done a video for some days. So I thought I'd come back and, give you all an update on another episode, give you all another talking to about some of the topics that are going on in the world today, and giving my insight on what's going on. So this episode, I want to address the video concerning the race, what has been dubbed as the racist Karen video. That was concerning a nurse in New York who was riding one of those city bikes that you typically see hanging around the city, where people can purchase these, rent these bikes for a little while on their apps, and basically get on them casually and just ride anywhere, wherever they need to go to do whatever they need to do. And so this was a white pregnant female, and she basically was attempting to get on her bike when there were three black young boys who came up to her, and they said that she was stealing their bike. And she said, "No, I did not steal your bike. I bought this. I bought and paid for this." And so one of the boys grabbed the bike to prevent her from leaving. The other one was kind of shoving his body up against hers, and she felt uncomfortable. And given that she's pregnant, it probably was stress inducing as well, because she probably felt overprotective given her situation and having a fetus inside of her. She's protecting herself and her kid. So naturally, she's telling the young boy can he get off of her? The young man, can he get off of her? He would not do it. And she was telling the other boy, can he please let go? But they wouldn't do it, right? And so she kept calling for help because she said she needed some assistance. And clearly these black young boys weren't letting up on her, saying that she was, being over dramatic. So I think one of the boys had said she was about to cry fake tears. All kinds of comments or remarks were said by the young boys. I think one black boy perhaps thought this wasn't necessary, so I think he told them to cut it out, based off what I've seen in the video. Which, going into it, they really didn't show a beginning. The beginning was literally the middle of the conversation, with her screaming, "Help, help, help," and the young boys basically trying to take this bike from her. Nonetheless, after this situation occurred, unfortunately, this white woman got dubbed a racist Karen. A lot of people didn't wait for the information to come out. The authorities were let known about this situation, and her job actually, as a result of this video, decided to let her go. They terminated her. They fired her. No, I'm sorry. They put her on administrative leave because she was under investigation. But for the most part, basically, they let her off for a while because a lot of people were firing on her, particularly black people. They were firing on her because of how she was acting in the video, saying that she was doing things that incited a sort of situation similar to what has happened with Emmett Till. They actually compared this particular situation to the Emmett Till tragedy that happened back in the early 1900s. And as a result of that, she was actually doxxed. A lot of people were unveiling her location, her personal information. And as a result, she had to readjust. She had to readjust and get away from all the nonsense, because clearly people were dubbing her in the wrong way. And even her lawyer came out on the news and said that she was in no way, shape, or form trying to racially charge anyone. In fact, that they have the receipts for the young lady, and she actually did purchase this bike, as opposed to what the young men were saying to her, that she actually didn't purchase the bike. When it could have been very simple to just go on your app and see who purchased this bike first, which I imagine those apps allow you to look at the timestamp to see when you actually bought the bike. They didn't think of that. They immediately recorded her because they said she was overreacting, but they were grabbing her bike. They were shoving their bodies on her to keep her from leaving. And she felt uncomfortable. So she said, "Help, can someone please help me and get them off of me?" Now, this is what I want to say to this. I find it amazing because this is what's happening now. And it's unfortunate that it's happening in this context, because if it were the other way around, I surmise that everyone would have been jumping, you know, over hoops about this, right? If this was a black female and three white guys were in this situation and they were addressing her the way that they were addressing her bodies, she was pregnant, bodies are shoving all up on her. They're telling her she can't leave because she's trying to steal the bike. Everyone would have been calling this a racist situation. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. And in this instance, the optics of this looks bad because, of course, this is a white female amongst three black boys. And because one is white, the other one is black, we're judging based solely on the fact that she's a white woman calling for help in a mix of three black boys who are also not being as reasonable in the situation. But given that we live in a society where there is a group who is protected when it comes to social issues or social concerns, there is a bit of a different standard in judgment when black people are assessed in these situations, as opposed to when white men and women are assessed in these situations. Clearly, we're not looking at things from a humanity concern. We're looking at this from a racialized point of view. Immediately after the video came out, that civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump was immediately quick to say how she was a racist Karen. He was immediately quick to label her. A lot of pro-blacks were quick to label her as a racist Karen because it brings them back to this idea about Emmett Till. Here's my thing about this. Emmett Till got caught up in first off, that was an entirely different climate. We're talking about a time in which lynching for black people were happening in droves. It was, I think they say the legacy of lynching, there was like over 3,300 people that were lynched. There was an X amount of them, of course, that the overwhelming majority were black, but you did have also some people that were white as well within the early 1900s. Matter of fact, I even have a book here in my own house that actually talks about the statistic from that particular period, but I can't think of the exact number at the top of my head. Nonetheless, but it was over 3,000. I do know that. And racism was at an all-time high. Black people were not looked at as equals. You're talking about a time when segregation was very prevalent amongst the United States, particularly in the South, not Jim Crow South, but in the South. And so everyone wasn't treated with high regard. Emmett Till got caught up in the situation, and you all know the story. I don't have to reiterate it. But that white woman basically accused him of whistling and trying to do something to her, which he did not do. And as a result of this, those two white men, because they knew they could get away with it, they decided to take him, beat him, torture him, and deface him to a pope. As a result of this, it's led to much needed action, a proactive course into changing the system, especially the justice system, because people were getting away with just casually beating the shit out of black people for no reason. Casually, you're able to go and just accuse a young black boy of basically coming to your store and doing what he just what anyone else would do. Just coming and getting something and then getting up out of there. but it's been said that he whistled at her and she felt afraid for her life. And so this is given a similar comparison. We juxtapose it to that situation. But there's so many nuances between that instance and the instance that happened with Emmett Till. This young lady was crying for help because those young boys were ganged up on her. By ganged up, I mean they were all surrounding her. There was no personal zones. Like keep your distance. You don't have to be all up on me. As if I'm gonna run away. Because she clearly confronted them. They confronted her. It was 3 of them. She probably couldn't go anywhere anyway, given the fact that she's pregnant. So she would be in protective mode. She's in a very stressfully induced situation. It would be no different if a black woman was in that scenario and she was a nurse and she's 8 months pregnant and she's amongst 3 white men that want to take over her. They could easily do it. And in this same instance, it's no different. I don't know why we don't grant the same leeway where if a woman, whether she's black or white, is calling for help, that it can't be without it being racially charged. If she's calling for help, maybe these boys were about to do something. And given what we saw in the video, they didn't give her any space. We know that. They kept saying that she was over exaggerating, and they were quick to put it out on the internet. They weren't willing to give it a second thought and say, well, let me go and look at the citibike app and see who paid for this bike first. They didn't dare to think that. It took her lawyer to come out on television and say she was not trying to get these boys killed or in trouble or anything when she was calling out for help. So now people can't call out for help when they're in trouble. It has to be racially charged because it's a black and white dynamic. Why is it that every time we come across these scenarios, it's always being seen as racist when it seems like it's a white person antagonizing black people? But it's never considered maybe sometimes it's black people could be antagonizing white people too. We never want to discuss that. When it's white people somehow doing something to black folks, let's call out and yell racism and get paid to do it. When it's black people fucking with white people, and we see plenty of videos on that, we never sit up there and say how it's prejudice or it's racist to go around just beating the shit out of white people just because you don't like them. Or just because you feel like the system in America is oppressing black people and marginalizing them. So you go messing and fucking around with innocent white people. And this is the same instance. This is not a matter of black and white. It's a matter of, in part, some degrees of classism, an unfair assessment of civil problems that we have in America. Situations such as this. That young lady deserved better. She did not deserve to be doxxed. But yet we, as Americans, because we are a microwave society, we take in information so quickly, we don't await for information to come out. Why we give such quick and insufficient reactions to these matters without actually having all the information up front and then making quick judgments off of it and then immediately go protest is beyond my comprehension. We're acquiescing and we don't even know all the information, but we're immediately quick to say, we're sick of white people. White people are always trying to get away with everything. White people got privilege. White people are marginalized. White people do this. White people do that. And yet you didn't sit there and you look like a dummy because she had the receipts. Now you done pinch yourself up. You've sat up here and you've slandered and mischaracterized this lady. And now she's sitting there with her reputation defamed because a bunch of people around her clearly don't know how to be honest. Slander is the new justice, apparently, Because if you are white, as opposed to being black, you could just go around and you could just casually call out and yell racism at every given turn, when not every situation, not every context, because there's a black and white person involved, is it racism. It's not racism. Do I believe in some instances that there can be racially charged scenarios? Abso-fucking-lutely. Yes, there can be. What there can't, but at the end of the day, the overwhelming majority of problems we have in this country, a lot of it is colorblind. It just simply be a humanity issue. Whether if you're black, white, Latino, Native American, Indian, Arabian, you name it. It's a humanity issue. Some people hate you for the smallest things, and it don't even have anything to do with skin color. Some people could just not like how you look. Some people could just not like your name. Some people may not even like the fact that you're short or tall. Some people may not like the fact that you're fat or skinny. People don't know you. They don't have to know you to do something to you. Doesn't take long. You can immediately become a target, and don't let them be a part of some sort of syndicate or organized criminal organization. You're certainly bound to be in trouble. You certainly can be dubbed an enemy, a contract. You never know. There's a lot of powers. Many people on a regular basis, they don't know what's going on. But imagine if you become the next target, simply because, like white men and women, like white Christian men and women, you become a target because you look a certain way. You become a target because you have nice organs. You become a target because you're within the age range or the age group to be groomed into a particular image. You become a target of these things, thus creating a crime-inducing situation. And not because you're black or white, but because you're a human being and you are seen with a certain value that can potentially put you in a dangerous situation, because dangerous people want to do dangerous things to you or me or anybody. Doesn't matter. This young woman who's white and a nurse and she's pregnant wasn't because she hates black people. I think pro-blacks, or just these black people who immediately think that every little thing a white person does is racist, are just looking for a reason to just hate. Looking for a reason to just say, this is why we don't like being around white people. Looking for a reason to say, well, this is why it's hard being black in America. This is why we can never get far. And a lot of times, it's us. It's not always them. And we know it. And in this instance, this was uncalled for. But everybody, of course, wants to go viral. Everybody wants to tell themselves that they are in the right. They want to be on the forefront of all of this and say that I have the knowledge. I am the one that tells the truth. I am the arbiter of social justice because of my oppressed history. And that's not how you judge things, ladies and gentlemen. We are grown. We are adults. We are Americans. We should be able to have discussions. We should be able to properly assess a situation without every single aspect being considered something racial. Because a lot of times there's mental illness involved. A lot of times it's good and bad days involved as well. Not everything is about race. If you make it about race, it will be about race all the time. If you make it colorblind, it'll be colorblind all the time. But we should base our assessment not on how we feel about a person being white, a person being religious, a person being sexually oriented in a different context or in a different representation. It should be solely on the situation that is happening in that moment. No white or black involved unless somebody has racialized it in that instance by referring to their skin color. Outside of that, should never even be about it in the first place. But I'll leave it right there. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Malik Washington. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good day or good night wherever you reside. And I thank you for listening if you got this far. Subscribe to the channel. Like this video. Also, tell me what you think about this. How did you react to the racist Karen video? I would like to hear your thoughts, whether if you agree or disagree. With this, I say peace.